Sutra of Complete Enlightenment, Ch.2 Manjusri Bodhisattva. Manjusri Bodhisattva, who was in the assembly, rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, circled him thrice from the right, bowed down upon his knees, brought together his two palms with crossed fingers, and said, "O world-honored one of great compassion, may you expound to this assembly the Dharma of the Tathagata's self-awakening from the self-moving pure and clean cause ground, and of a Bodhisattva's development of the pure and clean Mahayana mind for riddance of all impurities, so that they can teach future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination how not to fall into perverted views in their search for the great vehicle." After saying these words, he again made the same prostration and the same request for a second and third time. Thereupon, the world-honored one said to Manjusri Bodhisattva, "Excellent, excellent! It is good that, for the benefit of all bodhisattvas, you are able to ask about the Dharma of the Tathagata's self-awakening from the self-moving cause ground, and also for that of future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination, about how to abide and what to hold on to in their quest of Mahayana, in order to not fall into perverted views. Listen attentively to what I now tell you." Manjusri was filled with joy upon hearing this. He and the assembly kept silent to hear the teaching. The Buddha said, "Virtuous man, the Supreme Dharma Raja has the method of a Dharani door called Complete Enlightenment, out of which stream all pure and clean Buddha Tathata, Bodhi, and Nirvana, as well as Paramitas, to teach bodhisattvas about all Tathagatas self-awakening from the self-moving cause ground by entire reliance on perfect insight into pure and clean enlightenment for the permanent eradication of ignorance and ultimate attainment of Buddhahood." What is ignorance? Virtuous man, since the time without beginning, all living beings holding inverted views are like wanderers who lose their way. They mistake the union of the four elements for their bodies, and the shadows of the six conditioned sense data for their minds. They are like one who, by an optical illusion, sees a flower in the sky or a second moon. Virtuous man, actually, there is no flower in the void, but the man suffering from optical illusion wrongly clings to it. Because of his wrong clinging, he deceives himself not only as to the nature of the void, but also as to where the flower really comes from. This false existence to which he clings is the cause of the round of births and deaths, hence ignorance. Virtuous man, this ignorance actually has no real substance, and is like a man seen in a dream. This man exists in the dream, but not in the waking state. It is like an illusory flower in the sky. When it vanishes, it cannot be said that there is a fixed place in the void where it actually disappears. Why? Because there was no fixed place where it was created. In the uncreate, all living beings wrongly perceive creation and destruction, hence the round of births and deaths. Virtuous man, the Tathagata's cultivation of complete enlightenment from the cause ground consisted in his cognition of an illusory flower in the sky, which cognition put an end to samsara, wherein there is neither body nor mind that can be subject to birth and death. The non-existence of body and mind does not result from any particular deed, for fundamentally they are not immanent in the self-nature. Objective enlightenment, so cognized, is also like space, and subjective knowing of space is but an illusory flower in the sky. Even the nature of enlightenment and of knowing cannot be said to be non-existent, thus eliminating the duality of existence and non-existence to be in accord with pure enlightenment. Why is it so? because it is of immaterial nature, it is always unmoving, and in the Tathagata store, it is beyond creation and annihilation and is free from intellection. It is called Dharma nature, for it is ultimate, wholly complete and all-embracing. Therefore, this is the method of practice from the cause ground. All bodhisattvas, by reason of this cause ground, in their practice of Mahayana, develop a pure and clean mind. In the period of the Dharma's termination, if future living beings practice their self-cultivation accordingly, they will not fall into perverted views. To repeat his instruction, the world-honored one read the following gatha. Manjusri, you should know that all Tathagatas started from the causal ground with the wisdom of enlightenment, ignorance to understand. Once ignorance is known as a sky flower, birth and death come to an end at last. They are like a man seen in a dream, who disappears when one awakes. Enlightenment is like empty space, universal and unmoving. If it pervades the 10 directions, Buddhahood is then attained. Illusions have no place to vanish in. Nothing is one when truth is realized, for the self-nature wholly is complete. By reason of this causal ground, bodhisattvas develop bodhi mind. Future living beings in the Dharma ending age should practice it, and so avoid false views.